So I'm going to be talking on protecting sensitive species on iNaturalist. You're all aware, and we all know, that poaching and collecting are serious issues in South Africa, but not only in South Africa, in the whole world. And if we think of cacti, other plants like that, we can immediately appreciate that places like Mexico, California, and other parts of the world are also having a major problem with smuggling and collecting of their plants and animals. So iNaturalist is aware of this, and because it's such a big thing, they have recently, in June, they updated their security quite severely. And so I'm just going to address how this affects us and how we're going to cope with this. And this is just an observation of a sensitive species. And you can notice several things about it. For those of you who know your screens, you'll notice that there's nothing here about the number of localities, number of observations that Peter Meer has done. Nor is there a button to go backwards and forwards on his screen. If we look at the date, the actual date has been removed. It's only the month. And the time is gone, and also the date in which it was submitted onto iNaturalist, that's gone as well. So there's a lot of information missing there. And then if we look at the actual locality, the locality is somewhere in this box. We don't know where. This point, which many people think is where it is a circle. That just means it's a random point. So this is a point somewhere in that box. We don't know where in that box the species was seen. The actual name has been obscured. It's no longer what the person had. It is now just the local municipality. And if we click on the details there, we'll see that some of the details are missing as well. So there's quite a lot of changes. I don't expect you to remember that. So let's just look at a normal observation and see what a normal observation looks like. So another one by Peter Meer. This is of an oxalis, and we can see there's his number of observations. And if we click on that, we can go see his observations. They're the buttons that go and allow you to look at the previous and the next observations. And clicking on them will take you there. There's the date observed, 2nd of May, and the date submitted, the 4th of May at 9:25 in the morning. There's the locality. Notice it's got a little pig. It's got a leg. That tells us it's a precise locality. And there are other localities of the same species, oxalis, in the nearby area. And we can zoom in on this and go in on it and go look at for more localities if we want. There's his actual locality, Hanakurib. And if we go and click on the details, we'll be able to see what the details are. So what's actually gone is the number of observations, the handles, the dates and times. The actual locality is obscured, and these two fields are no longer available to people if we obscure data. If we click on the details button over here, it opens up and tells us what the latitude and longitude is. That is the latitude and longitude of that point. But note the accuracy. It is with a 30-kilometer radius. So if you use this point to actually go and try and find that, you're going to be searching an area of 30 kilometers radius or 60 kilometers diameter. So to go to that actual point will be pointless. So please, accuracy is vital. And those of you who are recording data onto iNaturalist, pay attention to accuracy because it's a very important field. So now what happens if we click on the details? It tells us which places are shown up for this locality, and we can see the municipality or the county is shown, and the province in South Africa and Africa. For the community curated places, these are all the places that this observation will be recorded for, and it's the Succulent Karoo, the Richtersveld area, the Northern West Coast, the Namaqualand. But what's not shown here is that this is actually recorded in the Richtersveld National Park. This obscuration is too great for it to actually be shown in the Richtersveld. So the reserve manager, the staff over there, and the people in the provincial administration, the conservation officials will not know that this record has been seen. It is obscured, they cannot find out neither. So just like the other people can't see, the poachers can't see, so the reserve managers, nobody can see it except for Peter Meer. So this locality is a random point. Don't go to it. You need to take into account the accuracy. And then be careful what you write in the notes and in the comments, because it might give away the locality. If there's anything important, like if this was seen at Hellskloof, this should have gone in under the location notes where it would have been obscured. And also be careful, number 24, is that the actual sequence that these observations were in? In which case a poacher could go look at number 23 and number 25 and see where it was. And if it is, then perhaps it should be hidden. But of course, it could be something else. It could be some code he's got for the species or something else, in which case it's not going to help anybody. So just be aware of what you put in the notes and in the thing. And if somebody asks you, did you see it at Hellskloof? Don't reply, yes, I did. How did you know? Because you'll be giving the game away. In a normal observation, if you click on the details, it'll give you the latitude and longitude. And notice the accuracy, according to Peter, for this is 1 meter squared. And if we look at the places it's for, we'll see this now shows that it's in the II Richtersveld Transfrontier National Park and in II Richtersveld open spaces. So it's showing up for detailed localities, whereas the obscured data doesn't show up. I don't know how many of you go down to the bottom of the screens of an observation, but if you go down to a normal observation at the bottom, you'll see that there's a summary of more data that Peter Meehan has done, or whoever it was who did the observations, and you can go and click on these. You can go see everything he's seen on the 2nd of May, except the obscured stuff, because remember, it doesn't have the date. But you can see everything else he saw on the 2nd of May. And you can go look at nearby observations, click on there, and you can see everything that was found in the vicinity. And you can go to close relatives, click on there, and it'll show you all the close relatives of this conophytum. Of this oxalis. You go to the conophytum, which is the obscured species, that entire window is missing and is not shown. So you cannot go look at the nearby observations, and you cannot go look at the close relatives, but you cannot go see what else he saw on that day. And lastly, if we go to the species page, and we click on the species, on the photo page, click on the photo, opens up the photo page, and it shows you the EXIF. Now, the EXIF there includes all sorts of stuff that your camera records, including the time, the date, and if you've got a camera that has GPS, it will put in the GPS coordinates. And what INAT is now doing is it's hiding the data that includes the file names, that you can't track it by file name, all the dates, the taken, the digitized, the GPS stamps, all the information, the EXIF on date and time is gone, and so is latitude, longitude, and altitude. So the stuff such as shutter speed and aperture, that's still there, but the information to the location is gone. Now, obscuration is all very well. It's great. It hides it from the poachers, but it also hides it from other people. It hides it from the conservation staff. So there's the manager at Richtersveld will never know that that conophytum was discovered in his park. And it won't appear in the reserve lists. So if you're planning to go to reserve and you get the listing of the reserves, those observations won't show up in the reserve, unless it's really large, like Kalahari or the Kruger National Park. It's also hidden from everybody unless you trust it. So the only person who can actually see the data is you. And for other people to see that data, you actually have to trust them. And it's even hidden from scientists and from crew staff. So the people at SANBI can't see that data. It's totally and utterly hidden. So new records won't be known. Poaching sites, if you're recording poaching, won't be known. And monitoring sites that you either want to go and visit to monitor or that you plan to monitor, they won't be known neither. You won't be able to get that data. So we need a way of letting the conservation research and SANBI staff know about these localities. And that's what I'm going to just deal with next. Just note that twice a year, SANBI gets a dump automatically. Sorry, it gets a data dump of the species that are automatically obscured. So the sensitive species that SANBI has made sensitive, those SANBI will get a dump of twice a year, but they can't sit on iNaturalist. They've got to then go use other programs to look at that data. So the way of trusting on iNaturalist is a way of allowing other people to see your data if it's obscured. And it can be obscured for two reasons. The one is automatically because it's a sensitive species, or you can actually obscure it when you upload it. And iNaturalist has a trust system, and you can trust people with your obscured data so they can see it. Be very careful about using trust though, because poachers are very convincing. They're very good at getting people to agree. So we recommend that you only trust SANBI and crew staff. Don't join other projects and trust people. Don't trust people who come and ask you for information. Let them rather come to SANBI and get the data from SANBI, and SANBI can run the necessary background checks on them. So how does one do this? Well, we use it by trusting the curators on projects. And what we're suggesting is that there are two sets of projects you should trust the curators on. There's two that are obligatory that we'd like you to do. And the first one is the one that Ishmael showed us, the umbrella project for red list plants and animals. And if you can trust us that, then we can see all the red list species data that's obscured. So that's quite an important one. You can see there's 90,000 records in there that will become available to SANBI staff if you trust the curators on the project. The other one we'd like you to join is the Habitat South Africa project. Most of you, I hope, are using the Habitats project. And we can see there it's 750,000 observations are in the Habitats project. And if you trust the members on that, the curators on that will be able to access that data. And then there's two that we would like you to join if you can, please. And the one is the Crew Contributors Project. And we can see there 500,000 records there will become available for checking if you trust the curators on that project. And then, of course, the project where you actually collect the data, the Red List South Africa, where you recollect the threats and the populations and the other information that we need. If you can join that, when you join that, if you can just trust the curators on that as well, please. So what are the curators? Well, there's 3 levels of curation on iNaturalist projects. There's the curators, and these are the curators for the Habitats project. And the curators are the people who do the donkey work. They're the actual ones on the ground who've got to go and check the data, add projects, add observations to the projects, and ask you for more information if you need them. And then there are managers, and the managers are the ones who actually manage the curators, and they are mainly SANBI staff. And then there's the person who created the project. So these guys do all the work. The managers can also post journal posts, and they can change the settings on the project. And the admin person can delete the project if he needs to. And the moment anything on the project settings is changed, you will be notified. So if anyone changes, you'll be told if you've trusted the project. Okay, so how does one go about it? So let us start with this project over here, and I've put them in the chat box if you want to, if you're finding me a bit slow and would like to do it at the same time. And the first one we want is the umbrella project. We only want you to trust the top level project, which is this one, South African Red List Plants and Animals. All those other projects, just leave them. If you've already done a setting on there, the most restrictive setting will apply. So if you've already trusted on these, then you're going to have to check it, but hopefully you haven't, and you only have to do it at the top level. So go, have a look over here. Are you a member? If you're not a member, join the project. But if you are already one of the 126 crew members who've joined the project, then please just review your membership over there. And if you click on the review your membership button, it will open up the box which asks you, do you want to receive general notifications? And the answer is yes, you do want to know if Tiller has something important to tell you. But most importantly, do you trust this project with hidden coordinates? And the answer, the correct answer is yes, for any of my observations. Now, this means that the observations which are automatically added because it's a sensitive species and the observations that you have hidden. And we know quite a few of you think that the sensitive species are too restricted and there's other species that sometimes need obscuration and you're hiding it. That's fine. You're welcome to hide it, but then please make sure that you choose this option so that the crew staff can actually see those observations as well. Otherwise, they're great for you, but they're not helping anyone else. And there's the note, please be careful. Coordinate access is important for scientists, but it can be abused by poachers. Make sure you trust all the project curators before trusting this project. And if there's someone on that curator staff that you're not certain about, contact Ishmael and he'll sort it out or trust or get you happy that perhaps they are trustworthy. And then when you finish, save that, and that will add the trust to the project. So this will allow the crew staff to see all the sensitive species observations. It's slightly different for the projects where you have to add data. And I'm using the habitats as our example here because we've got so many records that we'd actually like to get access to. Not all of them are obscured, but for that, click on there to there or in the chat box, and look at the top of the project and join the project if you're not a member. Most of the crew people should be members of this project. And then to see the actual membership, we've got to go down on this side here, and we'll open it. And on this, we can see there's your membership. Click on your membership, and it'll open up a page showing your observations and the settings on the side. Let's just look at the settings in a bit more detail. And in the settings there, it says receive updates from this project. Yes, those are those journal entries which Tiller is going to send you. So yes, you want to get them. And over here, the correct answer is yes, no matter who adds the observation to the project. If you choose this option, which is only if I add the observation to the project, then when the curators come and add the project, they won't be able to see the information. So the curators have got the job of checking and everything. So it's this option here that we need, please, no matter who adds the observation to the project. The moment you click it saved, you don't have to save anything, and it will remember the setting that you chose. So in summary, INET have upgraded the security on sensitive species quite drastically, but obscuration has severe costs in the terms that the data are hidden and that they are very difficult to get off. So you as crew need to join 4 projects and trust the curators and managers of the project so that SANBI and the crew teams can actually access your data, your obscure data. Okay, if at any time any of the curators change on the projects, you will be notified on your dashboard that the project has changed. And at the same time, the curators of the project won't be able to see any of the data for a week, which gives you time to consider and to check that you're happy with the people that they've changed on the curation and that everything's okay. Okay, so that's the side, that's what INAT has done. And I think you agree they've done a fairly comprehensive job, but there's also some stuff that you need to do to make sure that the data isn't exposed. And the one thing is be careful of the order in which you put your observations. Don't just put the observations in the order you saw them. In the upload tool, put the species that are not threatened in one batch, and then do a separate batch for the sensitive species. So if they're disconnected and you can't easily work out the order in which they came in. That's not possible if you're using the app in the field. So in the field on the app, we suggest that amongst your team, you have one person who actually records the sensitive species. Remember, they've got to fill in all that extra information. And then the other people can then do the more common species. And then 2 other things to be aware of. Remember, I told you about the notes. So notes or comments. Don't put anything in the notes and comments that might expose the locality. You've got the location notes and put them in there, and then it'll be hidden. And then also, when you're taking photos, just be aware of the habitat and habit shots that you take. Don't have too much background in, which will allow people to work out where it is. So if you want these beautiful scenes with the plant in the foreground, choose a more common species and zoom in a little bit more for the really threatened species. So thank you very much. I hope that you'll find that that iNaturalist has come to the party. And if you have any ideas or any worries about how poachers might get around this, just contact me. Don't tell everybody, contact me and we'll address it with the iNaturalist team and see if we can put extra balances and checks in to prevent poaching. Thank you very much.